welcome back to another van build episode. We are James and Kelly.
In today's episode, we are building out our sliding door wall. We're doing it early on in our build because if we build anything else, we won't have access to our sliding door, so we need to do it first.
We are super excited for this project because we are putting up walling for the very first time in our van build, adding a few little nooks for extra storage, and I just know it is going to look so good when it is finished. I am working on the side door panel right now. This one we have to do before putting anything in here because we need to be able to access the door, and once we build any cabinetry or our couch, it is going to block our access to building anything on that door. We have decided to make two separate panels instead of one long one, just because it would be easier for us to take it apart if we ever have to. Luckily, we did save the piece that goes right here, so that'll be easy enough to trace, so we can get the holes that we need to put this sidewall in and be able to remove it when needed. However, I will just need to expand it just a little bit, the length and width, because I want it to fully cover this whole side as well as the bottom part all the way down there. We keep talking about how bad the wind has been while we're trying to work in the van, and just to show you how bad the wind is, this is our sandy plywood. We left this outside on the porch, and the winds picked up overnight, and it ripped our board in half. Like, this has not been fun. Luckily, we can still use most of the board, but it just ripped it right in half.
Panel is going on this door, and we want it to fit kind of snug between the metal and the weather stripping, but it can't be touching the weather stripping because it needs space for the door to open and close. I took this piece of wood and I traced this indent here at the bottom that every Ram ProMaster has, and we're just going to cut this piece out, and then we also need to round the edge, which is just pretty simple. The bottom you really won't be able to see because it's like 4 inches underneath our floor. But this part you'll definitely be able to see, so we want to make sure this looks nice. Another thing I'm doing for these panels is I'm putting this 1/2 inch scrap wood at the bottom for the panel to sit on, so we know that it'll be a 1/2 inch above the weather stripping on the bottom. So again, we have space to open and close the door, and it won't be rubbing on the weather stripping.
Now that we have finished up this side, besides sanding it, I'm going to work on the left side. This was the board that got ripped up during the storm, and I thought we can use this corner piece because it will be where we need to cut off. But without realizing, there's like a sliver of an inch that is not needed to be cut, and that is exactly where this piece is. So we're gonna have just a tiny little bit of unevenness at the bottom of the door. It shouldn't be too bad. Yay, I finally get the high five. We have already cut out the boards that we are going to use to cover up these two pieces right here and tested them. Also cut out the backing. We still have the template that it came with. So we're going to use the template to kind of give us a better gauge of where all of the holes will go.
The first thing that we did is we put our panel up here, and then we marked where the grooves are. So we marked where this top groove is, and where this side groove is. I used tape to help me mark that, and that way I can put the template that we have directly where it needs to be on the panel. We've laid our template down on our panel, so now we can mark the exact center of each hole. Last time we started with the inner holes, these spacers, making the holes out of them first, then trying to transfer it to the faceboard, and we ended up really messing up the faceboard around the holes. So this time we're trying the faceboard first and then just going to glue these on, and we already have the hole set. So hopefully that saves us, that works. The glue is dried on our spacers, and we did one last test fit to make sure everything is good, and they fit perfectly.
To finish up these boards, we are actually going to create a nice framing around the edges, so to hide kind of the metal that is showing, to make it look cleaner along the edges. James is going to cut some pine board, maybe to about 1/8 of an inch thick, and then we will wood glue them on. Obviously not together. We want them to stay in 2 separate pieces, but have the illusion that it is one piece. And after we get those done, then it's time to sand it and stain it and get these boards finished.
I've started to put these trim pieces up on our wall panel here. I've basically just been cutting them, putting tape on them just to hold them in place to see what it looks like, and then just keep on adding around. The most difficult part so far has been finding the correct angles for everything, because I'm using straight pieces and I want them to line up as much as possible. The good thing about this door is when you open it, it doesn't go right away. It actually just goes out first. So we do have like almost a 1/2 inch of clearance right next to the weather stripping, but I don't want to get too close to it just in case that it hits the panel when it opens. So you can see here I just used the tape to hold the spot and then put glue underneath, and then I put all these clamps and I put a rock on this to help glue this down, and this is just the top piece right now. I didn't think it was a good idea to do all of the pieces all at once because it was kind of just too much to get everything in their exact place. So I kind of am separating it into sections, making sure it works, and then gluing on the next section. Panels are in with the trim on them, and they look pretty good.
This is my first time seeing them because I had to go to work yesterday, and I think James did an excellent job. I think these corner pieces they look really nice. It kind of just looks as one piece. And over here, all of this, I'm sure that was a big pain to make all these little pieces, but it looks like it's meant to be like that. It looks really good. I'm excited to see what it looks like with stain.
Yeah.
And polying our door panels. You can tell in the camera we went with the more glossier finish on these than we did in the back, because I'm wanting more of a shine with the stuff that's going to be visible inside the front. And I want to say I like the glossy look of these. It's not like the top gloss in the poly coats, it's like the second down, but I really like it. James is so-and-so about it, but I think they look nice. Now it is time to add the Easy Cool on the back for our added insulation. Easy Cool is now on the back of our door panels. Plus it gives some more insulation because it's about to get really hot. We already got the fans going, which are kind of nice when it's not like 80 degrees outside.
our wood panels are up, and both Kelly and I decided that we should also probably go ahead and finish this door completely, because we really want to finish our partition wall, but we need this door to be completely done before we fully install this wall. Kelly and I are coming up with ideas on how we're going to do the top part. The top part we're just going to shiplap, and it's going to be a wall that's permanent on there. We're not going to take it off. But there's a lot of space kind of in here. Like where we've put the insulation, there's kind of a gap to the edge.
We're finishing off our side door after a lot of thought and consideration on what we plan to do with it. So we went to Menards to look at different walling that we can use. We decided to go with knotty reversible spruce planking, which was cheaper than the cedar, which we were using for our... Was it cheaper than our cedar?
Yeah, it was cheaper.
Yeah, it was cheaper than our cedar that we were using for our ceiling. But the reason we went with the cedar was because there were a pack of like basically double, so we decided to just go with that one. But let me show you our plan. James has taped up all of the places on the door that he is going to put framing on. And we're just going to use the Baltic birch plywood, same thing we use for the main framing.
To add to that, we're not using the same shiplap that we're using on our walls. One, because it's a 1/2 inch thick, so it takes away more space and we don't want to hit anything when we open the door. The other thing is it's much heavier than the 1/4 inch spruce, and we don't want to weigh down our doors. So we went with a lighter material, and we're just going to put a thin framing on it for the spruce to latch onto, so it's as light as possible. We're going to have 4 of these framing strips up there. We're putting them on with the rest of our marine adhesive and then some self-tapping screws. We're using 1 inch self-tapping screws, which we have, there's about 2.5 inches inside here before you hit the outside, so I'm fairly confident we'll never get close. But that's something you should definitely always check. Make sure you do not drill through the outside. We're spreading these out 16 inches apart because that's what you would normally do in a house if you were putting them on struts. So we're just kind of following the same principle. So we'll have almost perfectly spaced 16 inches apart with 4 on the door, and then I'm just using the clamp to hold it in the middle. To get that one in, and then I can straighten it up once I get the middle one in.
So we put up the framing strips on this wall, and we have found out we have a bit of a problem. So if you can see how close these bottom furring strips are to the track where the door slides open, it is so close. After taking a lunch break and thinking a little bit more of it, I thought, why not make this a shelving area where we are having the problem instead of it being a wall? This will be where the wall is, and kind of like how we're building our window frames where the walling will come down a bit. We'll do the same technique here. So we'll have 3 shelves, and it'll come down where it'll be flush with this, and then this is just going to be like our wall. Maybe try to make it look a little nicer, but the shelves will be where the window actually could be. And it's not going to be a very deep shelf. It's only going to be like 2 inches. So we thought it could be a little bookshelf for where we put some books. So maybe books, flashlights, cat toys, knickknacks. We're just going to have 3 cute little inserts right here, and then hooks up at the top, and then the wall paneling on the rest of it.
These are the shelves that we're going to make. So we've just made the outside of the box, or we're basically going to be making boxes and then setting them in to make shelves. We've set our side pieces to 12.5 inches, which will give us 11.5 inch shelves right here, which is the perfect size for a good book, which is what we used as our reference for making these. The goal is to have this bottom piece have a face that'll come down and be flush with this. So we cut this about 1/4 of an inch short. So we could put 1/4 of an inch piece of plywood that goes down. And then the top needs to come flush with this. So as our walling comes down, it'll stop right on this top part of the shelf.
You'll never know that this was not what we planned to do. Besides maybe this corner, because it's gonna have a diagonal.
Look a little weird.
It'll be what's the word? Abstract? It's gonna
Yeah.
be abstract. Bookshelf boxes have completely dried, and now we are going to test it on the door to make sure that they fit. Once we get these in, we're going to measure the backing of it, and then we're going to put 1/4 inch birch plywood behind it as the backing. The plan is to stain the backing but keep the box itself white. It'll be kind of a nice little accent here. I think that's going to look pretty cool. Gone through and added easy cool to the metal pieces that are still showing to give us the most heat resistance and thermal bridge that we could possibly get. Now we've added this strip of wood right here. This is so we can have a door handle to help open and close the door. This will really help because having this handle is not really enough to open up the door. I am super happy, by the way, that our shelving has turned out. They look so nice with the grain of the birch plywood. We have screwed them in to just kind of give them an added support. Now that we have them fully installed, we're going to be adding our tongue and groove. James has made one straight side, so he's taken the groove out of this piece, and that is going to be our bottom. And that is where we're going to start. And how we are making sure that it is straight and in a line is we're measuring from the black weather stripping down to the bottom and just making sure it is the same height or same length from both this end and over here. We're about to have an official wall in this van.
If you didn't know this, the first piece of tongue and groove or shiplap that you put on is the most important because it's going to dictate how the rest of them will be, whether they're level or straight. And so we need to make sure that this one is perfect when we put it on. We're going to be using brad nails or the nail gun to put it on, so we won't really be able to take this off once we nail gun it on. So hopefully we get this first try.
And we are overlapping this first piece just a little bit from our box. That way it kind of looks like it's meant to be like that.
I started to nail gun this in without checking to see if the sides were even, and this was far too left. So I had to pull this one off, and it split the wood here at the bottom. But that's okay, because we can just glue it back on. We're waiting for the glue to dry for the top piece, but I'm going back through and fixing all the nails that didn't make it all the way into the wood. We've got a bunch here at the bottom that didn't do it. So I've got a punch, a nail punch tool, and a hammer, and I'm just going through and punching them until they're at least even with the wood. That way I can go back with wood filler and then we can paint over them. For the top piece, I just have to round the edges here on the good old bandsaw, and I've kind of just held it up and drew in the curves that needed to be done.
The top tongue and groove is up, and now it's time to finish off this bottom piece. So what we've done is
Painted some 1/4-inch plywood and cut it to shape. Boom, and it's gonna go like that. And then at the bottom here, we're actually gonna put another strip, something, we don't know what yet, but to cover these holes and to cover the bottom.
we also strategically placed these where the railing is on the on the outside. Our bottom board is up, and it is now time to paint it all. As you can see, I've already covered all of the places that we've already stained to make sure nothing gets on them. First coat is going to be primer on the bare wood pieces. This is already primed and ready to go, same with the bottom pieces. So what I'll do is after this primer dries, I'll go back through and start doing coats, painting montage. Let's go. Partially completed wall. We still have to add a door handle to help us open it, and then put our door handle back in, and just finish it off with some trim. But wow, it looks so good. I like it. Our bookshelf.
We're gonna fit so many books. How are we gonna read them all?
To make it easier to open our sliding door, we are installing a door handle, and we also upgraded the normal door handle to a longer one. So it's already easier to open. All right, do the honors.
It works. And oh yeah, not even close.
Nice. Yeah.
Our sliding door wall looks fantastic and we're super happy with it, and our nooks look especially good, and we're super happy with the functionality of them and being able to use them for storage like little books and knickknacks and stuff like that.
Seeing our first official wall and our van build is just so surreal, because that just shows what our future of our van is going to look like, and it makes me more excited to build even more inside of our van. So make sure to follow along to see our entire van build series.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.